has not stopped raining since we've hit the roads early this morning.
Some 70 million people in the southeast are watching for severe storms today, including hail.
To get us back to the days of Noah.
In the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
Here in Texas, we are not done yet with the weather. More storms are expected here throughout the day today.
The problem, it'll bring flooding rain to an area that's already had flooding rain.
Louisiana, Lake Charles hit so hard by those hurricanes last year, now underwater again.
We have got to shake and break out of, I would call, our electronic tomb of believing only what mainstream media tells.
Because you have kept the word of my perseverance, I also will keep you from the hour of testing.
Here's the thing, even in the climate study, the giants lived in a different environment. I've had multiple, people from the intelligence community and military tell me that the whole point in geoengineering is to create, and here it is, pre-Noah type weather that once inhabited. The giants, in other words, need another atmosphere. Guess what? They may have their atmosphere, but it's becoming more and more deadly to us.
Americans know that Israel and the United States share common values, that we defend common interests, that we face common enemies. Iran's leaders know that too. You know, for them, you're the great Satan, we're the little Satan. For them, we are you and you are us. I think they're right. We are you and you are us. We're together. So if there's one thing that stands out clearly in the Middle East today, it's that Israel and America stand together.
A top commander with the Islamic Jihad militant group in Gaza has reportedly been killed in an Israeli airstrike. The death of Hussam Abu Harbid comes as the conflict between Israel and Islamist militants rages in the enclave. The Israeli army said Harbid was behind several anti-tank missile terror attacks against Israeli civilians. This included one attack on the first day of the current round of fighting that the army said had injured a civilian in Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that attacks in Gaza are continuing at full force and will take time.
Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains.
And this is just the beginning. We'll hit them like they've never dreamed possible.
Is making the extraordinary claim that the United States and Israel have been in contact with a group of aliens for years, not immigrants, but extraterrestrials.
They, the occultists, the Luciferian elite, they know that the hierarchy to which they refer is the fallen angels. They know that, and they state it, but we're not supposed to know that as lay people. But in the occult, they absolutely know that when they say hierarchy, they mean fallen angels.
So what you're telling me is that UFOs, unidentified flying objects, are real.
Bill, I think we're beyond that already. The government has already stated for the record that they're real. I'm not telling you that. The United States government is telling you that. The mission of ATIP was quite simple. It was to collect and analyze information involving anomalous aerial vehicles. What I guess in the vernacular you call them UFOs. We call them UAPs.
You know how this sounds. It sounds nutty, wacky.
Look, Bill, I'm not telling you that it doesn't sound wacky. What I'm telling you, it's real. The question is, what is it? What are its intentions? What are its capabilities? Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly space, and oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing.
Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened.
Palestinians feel like they're being pushed out of East Jerusalem, the city they see as the capital of a future Palestinian state. They say Israel is upping its efforts to redraw the borders of the city, but Israel claims it belongs to them, despite the United Nations saying it's an occupation, illegal under international law.
The Israeli police have been arresting loads of Palestinian children. Palestinians are retaliating because so many young men have been taken away by police.
I want to begin by expressing our condolences to the Prime Minister and the people of Israel for the horrific Hamas rocket attack on Israeli homes this morning, which wounded 7 civilians at least, including numerous children. Our prayers are with our friends in Israel as they carry out an incredible way of life in the face of great terror. The United States recognizes Israel's absolute right to defend itself.
this will be closing down sooner than later. But Israel has a right to defend itself when you have thousands of rockets flying into your territory. But I had a conversation for a while with the Prime Minister of Israel, and I think that my hope is that we'll see this coming to conclusion sooner than later. Thank you.
The right of Israel to exist as a state legally. We have stood quite openly and firmly for the right of that state to exist within secured borders. But of course, as I said to Mr. Sigmund in Geneva and others, that we carefully define what we mean by secure borders. We do not mean that Israel has the right to retain the territories they conquered from the Arab world, like the Gaza Strip, the Golan Heights, and the West Bank. We don't agree with that. Those territories should be returned to the Arab people.
Mr. Mandela.
If a ceasefire is near, it doesn't feel like it. Air sirens sent dozens of Israelis and our crew into this southern Israeli bomb shelter. Several Hamas rockets were intercepted right above us. In Gaza, Israel's bombing campaign has been unrelenting. Despite President Biden's call to de-escalate today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed the operation will continue, tweeting, "Until its goal is achieved, to restore peace and security to you, the citizens of Israel."
A protest and march downtown tonight brought thousands of people out in support of Palestine.
Free Palestine! We're doing the same thing they're doing to us. If they wanted to handle it in peace, we would have done it a while ago. But if they keep on killing innocent lives like that, they can't expect everybody to just be silent.
Free Palestine. That familiar chant happening at rallies around the world. A few minutes ago, we showed you protests from the US. This one now from Cape Town. The South African government has formal diplomatic relations with the Palestinians and recognizes the state of Palestine. Well, thousands of people marched in London waving Palestinian flags. A few people holding Israeli flags also appeared as police stood guard.
If you touch Al-Aqsa, we will wreak havoc. We will نفتح أبواب جهنم. يا ابن حيوان. You attack Al-Aqsa, we'll do World War III so we can liberate it from you. If you want peace, leave Al-Aqsa alone. Leave Al-Aqsa alone. Leave Gaza alone. Leave the West Bank alone. Leave the Palestinians alone. Leave the Middle East alone. Because if we don't leave it alone, we can نفتح أبواب جهنم. And Palestine will be liberated, just like Salah ad-Din liberated from the Crusaders.
Especially because I'm Jewish. It's not just because I'm human. I stand up and condemn all what Israel is doing, not just now, but doing already for decades. It's because I'm Jewish. I condemn all what's being done supposedly in my name and supposedly in the name of my religion. The Jewish religion is being misused, sadly and embarrassingly, to justify all these crimes that are being committed against the Palestinian people.
And now it's our time. We must sacrifice together because we are all in this together and we'll come through together. It's the invisible enemy. That's always the toughest enemy, the invisible enemy, but we're going to defeat the invisible enemy. I think we're going to do it even faster than we thought, and it will be a complete victory. It'll be a total victory.
Used gene editing tools.
Gene editing.
There have been drugs that have had bad side effects. When you get into gene editing and saying, okay, should people be able to pick characteristics of babies, you get very strong negative reactions to it being used like that.
They wanted to have some kind of spiritual influence.
It's altering DNA.
They just simply chose individuals that seemed to have a disposition with this ancient blood or this power.
To change the nature of human beings is not surprising, because this is who they really are.
They sought more powers, and it's nothing new in a sense. If we go back to the Old Testament, when the king of Moab weaponized demonic powers, he sought powers to come on his troops to beat Israel. So this concept is a demonic thing. So they did do this in the context of rituals.
This nation, this idea called America, was and always will be a new world, our new world.
America knows which way the wind is blowing.
There is a spiritual war going on in the world. It's not liberal, conservative, Democrat, or Republican. It's good versus evil.
America knows which way the wind is blowing. Even NASCAR.
Donald Trump is the second sitting president to attend the Daytona 500. George W. was here in 2004. A race won by the man who will wave the green flag for today's race.
A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe?
Wave the green flag for today's race.
Tell us a clear and convincing story. We're going to win this race.
What kind of horsepower is underneath the hood of that car?
The racehorse theory, you think was so different?
One of their own drivers spoke up loud and clear.
Join in the battle for the soul of the nation.
Well, Jeff, our Fox graphic department came up with a comparison between the NASCAR Cup cars and what Secret Service calls the Beast, the presidential limousine.